I really think that retailers can learn a lot about training and rehearsing a lot of different people and types of people who come into the store. So if you even think about your personas, and you mentioned the three personas or the three types of audience that you try to cater to or that you identify. And what are the different ways that you approach those? So we know the one who's well informed, and you could equate those to being a brand loyalist, right? They're up for it, they're ready, they know what they want when they come in, they're ready to engage. And then what about the people who show up who are kind of like, yeah, prove it to me that this is worth doing? Or how do you not put them off, but yet also not let them hijack the experience?
Right. I mean, we talk about it a lot with the front of house staff and the actors, because like you want to give people a chance and be really warm and welcoming and try to bring them in. But if they're not coming, like you can't waste a ton of time or make the experience worse for somebody else. So it's also, you know, you're also kind of watching, like, is this going to work out, or do we need to, like, you know, ask this person to come back another night when they're less drunk, for instance. But yeah, I think you never want to shame somebody, you know, even in the worst, even if they are really behaving badly, like shame isn't going to help the situation. And so we don't blame them if they don't know what's happening. We just try and give them every opportunity and explain why this is so great and how they can enjoy it, you know, and try and, you know, bring them on. It's like, okay, you get to be in the club. You get to come into the Treehouse with everybody else. I'm going to tell you how it works. Not like, well, you should have done your homework before you came here. So that's not going to help.
If you were asked to design the store of the future with all these points in mind that we just discussed, how do you think it would look and how would you go about it?
Well, I think it depends a lot, you know, what you're selling, what the product is, of course. But I think if there are two things that you can do if you want a framework that would, I think, help any store succeed. So if you can both make people feel really special and have personal one-on-one unique experiences, you can do that, but also make them feel like they're part of something bigger and they're part of a community and have, like, you know, group event. If you can do both of those things, like, they're going to feel awesome. And I think they're going to feel really loyal and want to come back. It's like, I've been to a lot of things where you get one, but not the other. But when you get both of these things, you're like, wow, this is really special. Like, I feel great. I'm part of something cool. Yeah.
And you mentioned in the article that we'll link to, which I think has a lot of tips that are ostensibly for immersive theater writers, but I think we can all learn a lot from. You talk about the pre and the post, so the communication before and then the communication after. Can you tell us how that works in your world?
Yeah, so yeah, the experience starts the moment you see the advertising or the moment you buy the ticket, depending, you know, how it works. And then it goes all the way from, you know, your commute to the show until, you know, you wake up the next day. And so we like to do, you know, world building ahead of time to kind of, you know, whet the appetite and get people excited, and also, you know, help them prepare for the experience. And then at the end of it, try to, you know, make it feel like it's continuing somehow into the real world. Like, if the experience can bleed over and they can take a piece of it with them. You know, a really concrete example of that would be like if you took photos or things like that, you know, you could deliver those. But it's nice to, like, you know, you get a message from one of the characters and, oh, you thought that the story was over. You thought they were dead or something. And then a message beyond the grave comes the next morning. Oh, and so just to let it, you know, continue outside of those four walls.
So really,
I think those are some amazing examples. I mean, there's so much that retail can learn by looking outside of that box of this is retail and really looking at how theater goes about. I mean, the pre and the post experience, I think most retailers, they might think about the post-purchase experience to a certain degree insofar as they run a loyalty program. But the pre-purchase experience is something that I think most retailers will not consider. So I think there is an awful lot to learn here.
Do you have the brand Native deodorant? Has that hit the UK? It might just be American. They do an amazing job with your pre-experience. It's just deodorant. It's a deodorant company. Like, you wouldn't think that's a particularly creative item, but when you order it, you get this long letter that they've tailored to your city, and it seems really personal. And they anthropomorphize the deodorant, and it gets like packed up and it has to drive across the Golden Gate Bridge and it goes on this long journey and it like looks out the window. And I think they're just filling in a few blanks depending on your zip code. But they create this whole story that, you know, it's kind of irreverent and really creative, but yeah, it's just deodorant, but
hey, it gets people to talk about them, right?
It does.
And it creates loyalty.
Yeah, and the writing's really good. Like, it does actually make you giggle when you read it. You know, it's really high quality writing.
Yeah, when was the last time your deodorant made you laugh, right?
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
The first time I was like, what is this? And then I started reading and laughed out loud with my shipping, you know.
It reminds me of, you know, since I do some work with the Tate, and now that you have to book your time slot to get into the Tate, as you do with, when they open any other cultural institution, in order to manage the flow of people. On the one hand, it's a real pain for people to now have to think ahead that they have to go and get a ticket, although you can buy a ticket right on site if you're there. But what it's allowed the Tate to do is A, recognize that you're coming, B, tailor your communications to you to say, before you come, why don't you think about this? Or can we get you the exhibit guide and a cup of coffee waiting for you when you get here? And then the post, and then there's the experience, and then the post is again tailored to the experience that they've just had. And so it may be that retailers can start to take a page out of that book by encouraging people to sign in, sign up, or get time, book in to an experience at a store, and in a way that is not a hassle, but make sure that there is an experience that's really worth going to, waiting for them when they get there. And I don't know of retailers who are experimenting with this or not, because I think A, they don't really know how to implement the systems to do it seamlessly, and B,
it would be easy now, right? With the NHS track and trace app, you would think it's not particularly difficult. I mean, hospitality do it, right? That most of them don't do it well, but you have to book a table before you show up, and so there is communication before you arrive, asking for your allergies or your dining preferences, yada yada yada. So it shouldn't be difficult for retailers to do the same if galleries and hospitality and theater obviously can do this so well.
Mm-hmm. But even so, it's about telling the story. So if I think about hospitality, they do it, but they don't even. It's still very generic, and you think that they know where you're coming from, and they have this data, and they should be using it better. And do you find that that's something that's a really important part of the whole experience that you write in, Erin?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, if you don't get people started off on the right foot, it's really hard to get them up to speed later on. It just goes so much better if you can get them started the way that, get them prepared.